Round 2
We are back.
of the same shit.
Yeah, round 2. I wonder why that happened.
Yeah, I wonder why.
We had an episode ready to go. It's probably our best episode ever recorded. My ears were bleeding at the end. And I went to go edit it last weekend, and it was, poof, it was gone. So we did not post for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. And it was the first week, obviously, we just couldn't get to record. And then last week, I get this message from Cleet on the day we're supposed to post it, and he's like, dude, I'm so sorry, the episode's gone. And I can't take Cleet seriously ever, because he just jokes around all the time. So I'm like, haha, okay, whatever, like, sure, I'll get Buzzsprout up. Because I thought that was your way of saying, like, hurry up and get it posted.
Nope.
No, it was gone. And
Disappeared.
we, like, literally just completely poofed. It went to the abyss.
Yeah.
So that sucked. But, and last week it was, like, we had 2 beers that I only had 2 of each of. So we actually drank Flagstaff IPA and Moon Juice. Both were really good. So there's 2 beer recommendations for you. But this week we're drinking Hop Monster Hazy IPA from Mother Earth Brew Co.
Hop Monster.
And I actually bought this one because it's got like this crazy like monster truck looking thing on it. And my sons are obsessed with monster trucks. So I'm like, that's really cool.
It tastes fucking good.
Yeah, I like it.
Beer.
It's delicious.
So funny story. My cat's been missing for the last couple of days, and I was really worried because we had some cold winter nights, and I'm like, "Where's my cat? Where's my cat?" Anyways, Britton was supposed to come over to my house, and right at the time he generally comes over, I hear a knock on the door, and being the friend that I am, what I always like to do is aggressively flip Britton off. My door has like a little bit of a glass, like stained glass. I don't know. It's weird.
It's like the fogged pane.
So
we just flip each other off through it.
I think I see Britton. I'm just aggressively flipping this person off, and then I'm like, oh, that's not Britton. I'm like, oh. So I open the door. Probably mistake number 1. And the person's my neighbor, and he's like, never met him before.
Oh,
and,
Jesus.
He was just like, hey, do you have a cat named Ginger? And I'm like, I'm so sorry, man. I thought I thought you were someone else.
Did he say anything?
Which he's probably like, who would be that person that
he's like, here's your cat,
to,
asshole.
He just went and got my cat. I'm like, I'm sorry, man. But it was like the most awkward, funny situation.
Did you flip him off again before you shut the door? Just for spite?
Like, hey, man, thanks. And then I flipped him off
and shut the door.
Dude, it was so fucking funny.
Did he say anything?
Laughing so hard. He seemed surprised,
I mean, yeah.
I don't think he knew what to say.
If I went to return someone's cat and all I got was the bird, I'd be like, what's your problem?
Or you were just knocking on someone's door and just seeing a big middle finger slam to the glass, and it's just like, oh my God
damn.
The guy's having a bad day.
Yeah, that's crazy. But crazy turn of events. Still, the twins have not been born. Any day now. I know I've been saying that for like the past week, but like literally any day they're set to pop. So, crazy stuff. And obviously we're now at Christmas. So the day after we post this will be Christmas. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you and your families. But this week
Christmas.
we're doing something just wholehearted and family friendly. A viewer submission from one of our listeners named Ian. He really wanted us to talk about the wholehearted cannibal stories.
Ooh.
Cannibal stories, including and focusing on Michael Rockefeller.
Yeah. I hear people taste like pigs. I don't know if that's true or not. Is it? Is it true, Britton?
I don't know. They might taste like pigs. I haven't yet tried it.
Well, at least you're not, saying never.
Yet.
All right.
I'll try anything once.
And
I don't know. Maybe not human.
And I'll be covering Wendigo stories. I do want to say that we have noticed someone in our fan base that was requesting Native American stories on the reservation, as well as skinwalkers, which we'll be covering in a later episode. So thank you for your recommendation.
Yeah. Also, if you haven't been with us since the beginning, we did cover Skinwalker Ranch. So go back and listen to that. That's way back before we were somewhat good and decent. Have you listened to some of our older episodes?
Nope.
It's kind of painful.
Yeah.
It's kind of painful. I mean, I feel like we've definitely glowed up a bit.
You think so?
Not our faces, our voices,
we aged like a cheap wine.
I think at some point we
like a boxed wine.
Like a boxed wine. I think at some point we just kind of stopped caring too, because I could tell when I listened, like I was trying so hard to be not vulgar and like I just got to be like prim and proper. Now I'm like, I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah, taking shots left and right. Happened. That's what happens.
Peanut butter whiskey.
One of the mics on mute. We just get hammered.
Bunch of drugs. LCD.
Took 10 hits of acid before I
PCP.
started.
Yeah, we just go balls to the wall with drugs and then record. That's exactly how this shit happens. We didn't lose our episode. Cleet, in a mad drug-induced thing, just deleted it.
Right after he ripped off his skin.
Yeah, bucket of acid, just completely. So we're going to jump into it. So before we jump into the story of Michael Rockefeller and other stories of cannibalism, I think it's important that we talk about where, perhaps, the whole idea of cannibalism started, where it came from. Right? Like, did someone just one day decide, you know what? I'm going to eat my neighbor.
She looks tasty.
Yeah, right? Cannibalism is actually a pretty normal thing in the animal kingdom. Right? A lot of critters do it. Lots of bugs and insects take part in eating members of their same species. Take the praying mantis, for example, right? Like after an intense, passionate round of steamy intimacy, the female turns around and eats the head off the male. It's a pretty normal goddamn thing. Thank God the human women don't do that. At least not that I know. I don't know. There's probably someone out there who does. But in this episode, we're not covering the critter cannibalism. We're covering human cannibalism, which is the practice of eating the flesh or internal organs of other human beings. If you're one of these people, you'd be known as a cannibal, much like Hannibal Lecter or Jeffrey Dahmer, just to name a few. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Hello, Clarice.
I like your suit. Cannibalism dates all the way back to Neanderthals, who are said to have practiced it. It is also occasionally practiced in Egypt during ancient and Roman times, also during times of severe famine. Imagine that. Food goes away and then people start looking real appetizing.
Or you get locked into a mall like for 24 hours.
Exactly.
So like a blizzard.
Yep. 24 hours. That's all it's going to take for you, huh? One day and you're like, I'm done. Little Timmy's going.
That's on a South Park episode.
I figured you were
eating somebody.
24 hours.
That's
though.
like not even. It's like right when it happens.
How long would it take you, Cleet? If you were locked away somewhere.
I don't eat people, man.
No, I know you don't.
I don't do it.
So you would just die.
It's a moral absolute.
Okay. There you go. Works for me, I guess. The island Caribs of the Lesser Antilles, or Antilles, I don't know how to pronounce that. The island Caribs of the Lesser Antilles, whose name is the origin of the word cannibal, acquired their long-standing reputation of eaters of human flesh, which was reconfirmed when their legends were recorded in the 17th century. Cannibalism has been very well documented in many areas of the world, including Fiji, which was once nicknamed the Cannibal Isles. That's crazy. Like the beautiful island of Fiji.
Yeah.
It's be full of cannibals. The Amazon Basin, the Congo, and the Maori people of New Zealand, where the hobbits live. It is also practiced in New Guinea and in parts of the Solomon Islands. Human flesh has even been sold in markets in some parts of Melanesia and the Congo Basin.
I mean, at some point, I'm sure some fast food chain got a little bit of human meat in the supply chain by accident.
I don't think it was by accident.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you know, Burger King once gave you horse meat, I think. Or that from
I think
somewhere.
they still do.
Oh, yeah?
I don't like Burger King, man. Not a fan.
It's like maybe when you bit in that fingernail.
It's like, yeah, that's it for me.
Was that a person?
I've got to cut this out for a week. I've got to find a fingernail. Just eat around it. That's disgusting. There was a popular form of cannibalism in early modern Europe where the consumption of body parts and blood was actually used for medical purposes. Although it reached its height in the 17th century, the practice continued in some cases into the second half of the 19th century. Not too long ago. Cannibalism has occasionally been practiced as a last resort by those suffering from famine where no other food source is possible. The most well-known examples include the Donner Party from 1846 to 1847.
Donner Party of 4. Donner Party of 3. They ate them.
Donner Party of 2. And the crash of the Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571. I don't actually know that story. I might have to look into that one. Where the survivors ate the bodies of the dead to survive.
Like the last Donner guy's like morbidly obese. He's like, they all starved.
And maybe he started eating himself. In other instances, cannibalism was used as a more sexual nature, such as Albert Fish, whom you covered, Issei Sagawa, Jeffrey Dahmer, and Armin Mells. Cannibalism has been said to test the bounds of cultural relativism as it challenges the idea of what is or is not beyond the pale of acceptable human behavior.
Culture relativism is stupid.
Do you think it's beyond acceptable human behavior to eat another person?
A culture might find something acceptable and still be immoral.
Yeah, that's true. Some scholars argue that there is no firm evidence that cannibalism was ever socially acceptable anywhere in the world, but rather such views have been largely rejected as irreconcilable with actual evidence. Part of the argument listed above dives into which form of cannibalistic act is performed, as there are several categories. The first is cannibalism being accepted by the culture in which they occur, which is institutionalized cannibalism. Kind of like you're saying, the culture finds it. And
government's like, here's your person you can eat for the month.
Go for it. You get one person per month.
I'm still alive.
Are you just... No, I can't say that. Take that right out. The next is the consumption of human flesh under starvation conditions to ensure one's immediate survival, which the name suggests is survival cannibalism. Lastly is the consumption by isolated individuals considered criminal and often pathological by society at large, which is cannibalism as psychopathology. So, there's several different reasons one might eat someone else. There are other distinctions.
I'm sure people have reasons to eat people that have. They probably didn't just wake up and like, you know what? I'm going to eat somebody for no fucking reason.
I guarantee those people exist.
Now, they got their rationalizations.
What?
Ever since I was a child, I had dark thoughts, things within me that controlled me beyond what I could comprehend.
Yeah, but but they'd still somehow wake up like, you know what? Today's the day. I'm going to eat someone.
Yeah, but his reasons are he's disturbed emotionally.
Okay. This still comes out of nowhere. Like I think it's a gateway to it.
A gateway to cannibalism.
Yeah, exactly.
Alcohol.
Uh-oh. And drugs.
And rock and roll.
Specifically bath salts. Rock and roll, drugs, bath salts, and beer. That's how you become a cannibal. So there's other distinctions, including exo, endo, and auto-cannibalism. Endo-cannibalism is the consumption of a person from the same community, often part of a funerary ceremony like burial or cremation, and is used as an act of affection. Like, oh no, my son died. I need to eat his hand to show that I love him.
Or like when you cremate them, like, do they eat the ash?
Probably.
Like, this ain't Tang.
They put it in the coffee
you
maker.
Tang, right?
Oh, I love Tang.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Tang in a long time. I want some Tang.
This ain't Tang. What the hell is this? It's your grandpa. Drink it.
This is Grandpa George.
Drink grandpa.
The Tang turned black.
This ain't Tang.
This ain't Tang. Oh, God. Yeah, Tang is bitching.
I don't know, like... I don't remember ever liking it as a kid.
You didn't like Tang?
I remember, like, I don't know if I mixed it wrong, but I never liked it.
Did you put, like, too much or too little? Because that would ruin it.
Probably.
My grandma used to have it all the time. It's like that little bucket with the white lid that you twist off. My brother was like, he went balls to the wall for it.
This ain't Tang. Where's Grandpa?
Grandpa died last week. He's in your mug now. That's horrible. So that's auto-cannibalism. You eat those in your community. Exo-cannibalism is the consumption of someone outside of the community, often as an act of aggression.
Oh.
Oftentimes warfare, where one might eat the flesh of an enemy to celebrate victory over them.
I'm going to eat your mom.
I don't know how that's a victory. That's kinky. I just want to eat your mom.
Wait, do you mean
Timmy,
like
no!
cannibalism? What?
You mean you want to like cannibalism? Sure.
Yeah, sure. Whatever you say.
Whatever, yeah. Lastly is auto-cannibalism, which is the act of eating parts of oneself. Told you, there's some curiosity there.
So which one's Jesus? Eating the flesh.
That would be auto because it's part of their culture.
Okay.
I don't know. Why are you asking me that? I don't know.
You're the cannibal expert.
I am now. This has never seemed to be an institutionalized practice, but occasionally occurs as pathological behavior or other reasons such as curiosity. All in all, cannibalism has been practiced in several instances all over the world for a variety of reasons and beliefs. Now that we have a background in what cannibalism is and possibly where it came from, we're going to talk about some true stories of cannibalism in our twisted world after Cleet tells us some Wendigo stuff.
Oh, a commercial break.
For the lesser entertainment.
Boo!
Boo! Throwing tomatoes on the stage. Get out of here, you freak.
This story.
Fuck you, man.
Fuck you.
He said with contempt.
This story is called Never Been More Glad to Have a Bear Nearby.
Wow.
Sorry for the wall of text. I'm not very good at summarizing.
This should be fun. When it comes with a warning, you know you're in for a good story.
My family recently bought a beautiful but overgrown piece of land in Kootenays of Kootenays of British Columbia, Canada.
Got the Kootenays.
It's a wonderful place, but my dad is frustrated with the amount of work they will have to do to live comfortably on our land.
It's like my parents bought all this land and my dad is so pissed at all the maintenance.
Yeah.
What the fuck did you expect? Beautiful but overgrown piece of land.
I personally love our little pocket of untouched nature, but I'm getting off topic. I thought it was strange that the previous owners seemed to be in a rush to sell the land, but I chalked it up to the uneven ground and abundance of plants.
I love that he says one sentence and it's like, I'm getting off topic.
Yeah.
It's like, dude,
Excuse me.
You're fine. It's like, and there was this one time, oh, never mind, way off topic.
This reminds me of a story when the ice cream man came around when I was 2.
Never mind.
My family brought...
Hello, my child. What the fuck,
God,
Jesus?
Damn it, Jesus. Get the hell out of here. My family brought their trailer to the land, and we're staying in it, while I set up a small tent nearby since there wasn't enough room for me. Soon after we started staying there, my dad and I were comfortably sitting around our fire pit stargazing and listening to the sounds of the land, when we started to hear the shrieks of something that was certainly inhuman, but also unlike any animal either of us have ever heard. It was a shrill, yet guttural growl that was extremely drawn out and loud. My first guess was that a bear or a cougar got cornered, but listening more closely quickly crushed that assumption. I started to distinguish the growl of a small bear, but that wasn't the source of the strange shriek. It soon started to sound like a bear was cornering something, and the threatening creature was trying to make a last-ditch escape while screaming in pain.
It's not something you really want to hear when you're out there. It's like, yeah, I think it's time to go. Back away in the tent.
I just start singing the circle of life.
No, you would not. As you're getting munched on.
No, the bear's munching on something, not me.
And then you're next.
Nah, he'll be full. He'll be full.
Have you seen a fucking bear?
Yeah, dude. When they're full, they're chill.
He's just gonna come sit next to you. Like, what's up, Cleet?
Got any weed?
Got this book at LSD. About to record my new episode.
And the threatening creature was trying to make a last-ditch escape while screaming in pain. Now, I know you're probably thinking, it must have been a cougar or something, but I have heard a cougar in a fight before. This was not a cougar. Its shrieks and howls sounded almost demonic. Soon after the noises stopped, my dad and I both decided it would be best to head to bed. While laying in my tent, I started to hear the unmistakable sound of a large creature roaming around our site. After approaching, I heard it settle into place, almost like it was sitting down and getting comfortable. I started to worry that the unidentifiable creature from earlier was stalking me, until I worked enough courage to peek out my tent's window. In the spot I heard the creature approach, I saw not a horrifying monstrosity, but a beautiful black bear. I would normally be afraid upon seeing this, except I made eye contact with the bear and felt an overwhelming sense of safety. I know this sounds crazy, but it almost felt like the bear was watching over us to protect us from something.
This guy's high as shit.
Yeah, he's like, took a lot of LSD before I went to bed.
There's a bear out here.
Dad?
I feel so safe.
Hello, son.
Hello, my son.
Soon
I
after
sent this black bear to help you.
Goodbye. Go away, Jesus. Soon after noticing the bear, I heard the blood-curdling screech of an unidentifiable creature, much closer now. When the bear heard this, it tensed up, brought itself to its feet, and began to growl menacingly.
Damn.
Only a moment after the bear began to growl, I heard a much larger creature than the bear run off in the opposite direction.
This Wendigo's a wimp.
I swung my head to see where the noises was coming from and got a glance of an incredibly large, deer-like animal. I didn't get a good look at it, but I remember seeing thin, skeletal, long, pale arms and legs that ended with hooves. It was also covered in a very dark, blood-like substance, implying that it had been recently injured. When I saw this, my breath caught in my throat, and I couldn't force myself to look away. I saw the tree sway and break where it was running, and then it stopped a far distance away from our land and let out one more shriek. The few birds that were awake in that area flew away in fear, and I shuddered. I looked back to the bear, and it was once again sitting, looking at me with its kind, protective eyes. I have never been more grateful to have a bear living nearby, and no longer fear them, but I respect them.
Until he finds the wrong bear, like Cocaine Bear.
When you find a bear.
Have you seen the movie The Ritual on Netflix?
Yes, it was good. I liked it.
The creature reveal on that was fucking awesome.
Always good when you got a cult following a creature.
Dude, The Ritual was so good. It was one of those movies that came out of nowhere. It's like, I'll watch it, and you're like, holy balls.
The next one is My Wendigo Encounter. This story takes place in the backcountry of the area I grew up in. Be warned, some of this may be frightening for some.
Listener discretion is advised.
It's gotta be good, man. We're really shitty. So back in 2019, I remember there being a big uproar of unknown creatures roaming the forest, like Bigfoot and skinwalkers. I did not hear about this. But this story isn't about them. This story is about probably one of the scariest things I think I've ever heard about. The Wendigo. A few months after one of my friends, Jacob, mentioned this big uproar, I went to go see him since I had been away enlisted in the United States Marines. I got back after being discharged, and one of the first things I did was go and see him. We're having a good old time, and he brought up the idea of going out to a little hangout spot his ex-girlfriend took him to when they wanted to get away for a few hours. So I decided, why not? So I grabbed my gun, and we went out to this extremely secluded area and started messing around on the old dock that was there. It had been pretty much forgotten by the looks of it, poorly maintained, and some boards were almost completely rotted through.
Let's go out on this deck and shoot shit.
Probably shoot in the air and go yee-haw.
It's a good idea. Nothing wrong is going to happen here.
So about 30 minutes into our shenanigans, Jacob brought up the topic of the Wendigo. The name sounded a little scary even for me. Curious, I asked him about it. He said that if you went into the woods and said Wendigo 3 times...
Oh, Jesus. It's not Beetlejuice.
Wendigo, Wendigo. You would come across the scariest looking thing you've ever seen.
Come on. You're just tying stories together. It's not Beetlejuice. It's not Candyman.
Me calling his bluff and also having to take a poop. Just kidding.
Wendigo, Wendigo, Wendigo. Oh, Wendigo. He's just sitting there pinching off a loaf, saying Wendigo over and over again.
I told them to prove it. To this day, I wish I hadn't. We started walking on this little path that led deep into the thick woods close to the Alabama state line. We walked for maybe 20-ish minutes and decided we were in a good spot. I feel it's worth knowing that it had been raining a lot over the last couple of days, so the ground was completely saturated with water. I turned to Jacob and he dares me to do it. I stood there in complete silence. The rest of the forest was almost silent as well, besides the tall pines swaying in the wind high above our heads. Recently, I slowly started to say, Wendigo.
Wendigo, Wendigo, Wendigo.
Wendigo. Wendigo. Then nothing happened. I let out a silent sigh of relief at the fact that nothing happened. One thing about mine and Jacob's friendship is we loved it when one of us proved the other wrong about something. In our friendship of 10 years, I think it was one of the first times I'd proven him wrong at anything. We started to talk a little bit of shit back and forth at each other when we heard a noise in the distance. Me still having the reflexes I had from the Marines, I immediately snapped towards the direction of the noise that were just then turning into noises. I started to move closer to the noises, and then shortly after we saw a few coyotes running across the path about 30 feet in front of us. I breathed another sigh of relief, but that relief didn't last long since I knew something was up. I didn't know what was up at first, but I just knew it was time for me and Jacob to leave. As we turned to leave the woods, all of a sudden, a tall pine tree started to groan and creak as it started to come down.
Nope.
Noticing this, and in the moment of pure instinct, I shoved Jacob forwards as the tree came falling through the rest of the branches and landed right in between us. Jacob let out a cry of terror as the tree landed, and I hopped the tree to get him. I could feel his heart pounding like drums as I grabbed him by his shirt and yanked him to his feet. He was still terrified and still practically crying as I screamed at the top of my lungs, "Move, Jacob! Fucking move now!" I spun him around really hard, causing him to fall to his knees. I quickly got him up, and we both started to sprint down the path back in the direction we came. I didn't dare look back, and neither did Jacob. I was sprinting through the woods when a familiar sound from behind me. "Jacob! Jacob, come quick!" It was the sound of Jacob's younger sister, Olivia. He turned and tried to get past me. The whole time, he was screaming, "Olivia!" I stopped him and said, "Jacob, look at me. Look at me. It's not her. Look at me. Do you hear me? It's not her." Just then, another pine tree started to buckle. I saw it just in time to tackle Jacob down to the ground as both of us were nearly crushed. I screamed at Jacob once more, "Go! Get out of here! Go now!" As I was screaming that, I pulled my gun out of my waistband and aimed it down the trail in the direction from whence we came. Jacob made it to the opening of the trail and turned back and noticed I was still aiming my gun down the trail. "Bradley, get out of there! Come on, hurry!" I turned and started sprinting towards him. As I made it through the clearing, a good 50 feet, I turned and me and Jacob both saw it. The thing we had ushered into showing itself, the Wendigo. It stood about 9 feet tall on its hind legs. There was practically no meat on its bones. It had really skinny legs and even skinnier arms. Its skin, a pale white, almost like vampires. But the thing I noticed the most about it were its eyes, a vibrant blue, almost like lightsaber blue for those who have seen Star Wars.
Oh, Jesus.
Having
had to throw Star Wars in there, didn't you?
Do. No, that's not Star Wars.
That's not Star Wars? What the fuck is that?
I don't know, man.
That's a final countdown. What do you want?
Good enough.
Oh, my God.
Having had enough fear, I raised my gun and fired at the Wendigo. Jacob, not sticking around to see if I had killed it,
he's just running away.
Turned and ran towards the car.
Fuck you!
I just gotta outrun you.
Yeah, you'd have to outrun the slowest person there.
I turned and did the same thing as he passed me.
He's just firing behind him. Fucking hell!
That was my first experience with the so-called Wendigo, and I pray almost every night I never have to come across something like that as terrifying again.
Damn.
All right, man. That's your turn.
Cool. Wendigo. So our first story in Cannibalism Land is that of Michael Rockefeller. Does the name Rockefeller sound familiar to you?
Yeah, the rich people.
Yeah. He was born on May 18th, 1938. Died on November 19th, 1961. He was a member of the Rockefeller family, the son of a New York governor and later U.S. Vice President Nelson Rockefeller, grandson of American financier John D. Rockefeller Jr., and great-grandson of Standard Oil co-founder John D. Rockefeller Sr. So it's a power family, man. Lots of money.
It just slightly.
He was the fifth and last child of Nelson and Mary Todd Hunter Rockefeller, but the third of several children fathered by Nelson. He got around. He also had a twin sister named Mary, whom I don't think was eaten by cannibals.
Hopefully. Maybe she was the cannibal.
Maybe, plot twist. Twin sister. It was during his expedition in the Asmat region when Rockefeller disappeared in the southwestern Netherlands, New Guinea, which is currently a part of the Indonesian province of South Papua. Carl Hoffman published a book in 2014 that dove into the details of the inquest and the disappearance. Tribal elders admitted to Rockefeller being killed after swimming to shore in 1961. However, no remains or physical proof of him dying have ever been discovered. After his 6-month service in the military, Rockefeller went on an expedition for Harvard's Peabody Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology to study the Dani tribe of Western Netherlands, New Guinea. This expedition filmed Dead Birds, which is an ethnographic documentary produced by Robert Gardner, which Rockefeller was the sound recordist. At some point in this expedition, Rockefeller and his friend briefly left to study the Asmat tribe of southern Netherlands, New Guinea. After this expedition ended, Rockefeller returned to New Guinea to study the Asmat further and collect some distinctive woodwork art. Rockefeller said, "It's the desire to do something adventurous at a time when frontiers, in the real sense of the word, are disappearing."
It's just the human spirit.
Who has frontiers anymore, man? Like, I'm going to go on a frontier.
Hey, space is the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood station.
Right.
Did you not get the song?
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, the name of it.
Who's the band?
I don't know. Who is it?
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, they suck, dude.
Yeah, you should get it.
I know the song. I just don't know. I don't care for it.
You would have known it if it was Pink.
Fuck Pink, dude. Oh. No. He spent his time in New Guinea actively engaged with the culture and the art while recording ethnographic data. He wrote back home in one of his letters, "I am having a thoroughly exhausting but most exciting time here. The Asmat is like a huge puzzle with the variations in ceremony and art style forming the pieces. My trips are enabling me to comprehend, if only in a superficial, rudimentary manner, the nature of this puzzle."
Quite.
Someone drawing a Wendigo? On November 17th, 1961, Rockefeller and Dutch anthropologist Rene Wassing were in a 40-foot dugout canoe about 3 nautical miles from shore when their double pontoon boat was swamped and overturned. That's not good.
I hate a bad swamp.
Their 2 local guides swam for help, but it was much too slow. After drifting for some time, early on November 19th, 1961, Rockefeller said to Wassing, "I think I can make it." The fuck is happening over there? I just hate the walls, man. They're trying to come through. He's like, "I think I want to make my room bigger." He then swam for the shore. The boat was an estimated 12 nautical miles from the shore when he made the attempt to swim to safety. That's a long fucking time.
It's a long swim here.
Supporting the theory that he did die from exposure, exhaustion, or drowning. Wassing was rescued the next day. However, Rockefeller was never seen again despite an intensive and lengthy search effort. At this time, his disappearance caught the attention of major world news. His body was never found, and he was declared legally dead in 1964. It was originally reported that Rockefeller either drowned or was attacked by a shark or seawater crocodile.
Or some type of sharknado.
Or saltwater crocodile. Yeah. However, I'm not going to go swimming where there are sharks and crocodiles. Are you fucking kidding me?
I bet they'd fight each other. That'd be cool.
Probably. Kind of like the bear and the Wendigo. However, because headhunting and cannibalism were still present in some areas of Asmat in 1961, there's also been speculation that Rockefeller may have been killed and eaten by tribespeople from the Asmat village. In 1969, journalist Milt Macklin traveled to the island to investigate Rockefeller's disappearance. He dismissed reports of Rockefeller living as a captive in the jungle, but concluded that circumstantial evidence supported the idea that he had been killed. Several leaders of the village, where Rockefeller likely would have arrived had he made it to shore, had been killed by a Dutch patrol in 1958, thus giving some rationale for revenge by the tribe against someone from the white tribe. So they were like, someone showed up and murdered a bunch of our people, so we're going to do the same thing back, and we're just going to eat this guy.
Those goddamn Dutch.
Neither cannibalism nor headhunting in Asmat were indiscriminate, but rather were part of an eye-for-eye revenge cycle, so it's possible that Rockefeller found himself the victim of such a cycle. In his book, Rocky Goes West, author Paul Tuohy claims that Rockefeller's mother actually hired a private investigator in 1979 to go to New Guinea and try and solve his disappearance. The reliability of the story has been questioned, but Tuohy claims that the private investigator swapped a boat engine for the skulls of 3 men that a tribe claimed that were the only white men that it ever killed. So he shows up, this private investigator is like, "Hey, I traded my boat engine for these 3 skulls, and one of them is your son."
Sorry about that.
I don't know which one, but this is it. So
my condolences.
Pay me lots of money. If this event did actually occur, the family had never commented on it. However, the History Channel program Vanishings reported that Rockefeller's mother did pay a $250,000 reward. Now, this is way back in 1979.
A lot of money back then.
So she paid the reward to the investigator, which was offered for final proof whether or not Rockefeller was alive or dead. In the documentary film Keep the River on Your Right, Tobias Sheinbaum states that he spoke with some Asmat villagers who described finding Rockefeller on the riverside and eating him. Ultimately, it has never been proven if Rockefeller was indeed eaten or if some other fate befell him. So what do you think?
I think he drowned.
Yeah. 12 nautical miles is a long time to swim.
It's a lot.
And when you're up against saltwater crocodiles and sharks...
Probably had to wrestle a few just to get there.
Yeah. Maybe a turtle or two, some shrimp.
Kill the turtle with some plastic on the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think he was probably... I think he died of exhaustion. Like, it's... I don't think he showed up and they're like, oh, food!
Oh my God!
And they murder him and eat him.
Throw a straw at it. This one is called Wendigo Hill. The following account is 100% truthful.
Oh, okay.
I love the editorializing of these little things.
It's like when the movie's like, based on a true story.
And it took place at 3 a.m. on October 31st, 2020. My friends and I always go on walks together past midnight, in the woods, along the roads, anything. We usually have 4 people, but this time, Ben, the guy whose house we're staying at, could have 6 people over. So the 6 of us walked along the road to this Verizon tower on this hill. The stars look very nice up there at night, so we always do it. We get halfway up the hill and we're feeling uneasy. It's a full moon on Halloween, after all. Nick, the oldest and most stoic out of us.
The most stoic. Is that a compliment?
The one who never jokes about or believes in paranormal or anything, points his flashlight ahead on the trail.
This is Trevor, our most stoic friend.
What the fuck is that? He rarely swears, so this was another attention-grabbing thing. We all stop and look ahead. About 20 paces ahead of us, there it was. 8 feet tall, white as snow, a skin and bone, lanky, bipedal being within a stone's throw. 6 people all saw this at the same time. It takes off into the woods like at superhuman speed. We stop and are silent for a moment. We immediately start asking if everyone saw it, and everyone did. We argue and cuss and I try my hardest to convince the others to turn back and forget it. But fearless Ben, who doesn't believe in anything, begs to push on. We do. Now, I've cut down a lot of trees in my day. What?
What does it even mean?
I'm a logger.
I used to be a lumberjack.
So I know what it sounds like when one falls. On the
Doesn't
continuation.
Everybody?
Yeah, I don't know. Not me.
It's so unique that unless you've cut down a tree, you have no idea what you're hearing.
On the continuation of our voyage, less than a minute later, a tree slams to the ground on the side of the trail. It didn't fall. It was pulled down with force. We stop and argue. We push on. A minute after that, we hear a rustle and a loud, painful chirp from a bird. We make it to the tower and look around us. The top of the hill is mostly devoid of trees, so we look down at the path where it ran. Ben is still trying to convince us he isn't afraid. We decide to run the half-mile back down to his house. We get there, and Ben starts crying. He has never, ever believed in anything his whole life, but he saw something up there. We all saw something up there. I still see it sometimes when I close my eyes. We've gone back up there, but haven't seen anything. I've done a lot of research into it. I have no doubt in my mind it was a Wendigo. Do-do-do, do-do-do.
He spells Wendigo wrong, too. It's Wendigo. It's not Wendigo.
All right, this one is called Wendigo Encounter in Maine, perhaps multiple. Throughout my youth and in through adulthood, I've had several encounters with entities and energies that are not of this realm, at least not as far as science and history is concerned. These past few years especially, I've had several terrifying experiences being stalked. While taking walks late at night around Turner, Maine, Sometimes I'm overcome with a sense of fear that's animalistic, and an innate sense of paranoia consumes me, as if something is watching from the woods and I need to get to safety fast. On other occasions, I've actually had something quite aggressively follow me alongside me from the tree line, chasing me away from certain areas, whispering in low, human-like tones as it moves through the woods alongside me. I see it. I'm gonna get you. It sounds like human footsteps crunching across tree branches, leaves, but much so much larger, heavier than any human can step. This thing also can hurl itself from treetop to treetop. The power of it so great that it has actually knocked down trees.
King Kong.
Full goddamn trees as it leaps. I could not fucking make this shit up. It's terrifying to be followed by something that is A, whispering as it walks in the trees beside you, even when you're running. B, can seemingly teleport from one side of the road to the other in seconds. And C, is so big it can knock down trees as it jumps from the top to top. And D, is so evasive it can do all of these things while remaining hidden and not perceived by the naked eye. Besides those encounters, I've actually visually seen something I can only relate as a Wendigo. It was either comfortable enough with my energy to reveal itself, or something else altogether. Maybe it wanted to eat me, maybe it wanted to possess me, maybe it wanted to speak to me.
It wanted to eat you for sure.
It wanted to... I really don't know, because I didn't stick around long enough to find out. The energy of this thing, the way it looked at me, was so offensive, so terrifying. I only remained long enough to visualize what I instinctively knew was coming through the woods.
So offensive. You're offending me. The way you're looking at me.
I'm gonna cancel you.
Cancel culture.
And was about to show itself to me. I was frozen while I waited for this thing to come out of the woods. Looking back, I don't know if it was curiosity or the power of the creature itself.
The power of Christ.
He compels you. I locked eyes with this thing, and when I did, I was suddenly watching myself from its perspective, as if I was now inside the creature. Horrified, I tore myself away. Luckily, I was on the front steps right next to the door and ran inside with a lit cigarette. I was so scared, I wasn't even thinking any thought besides run.
I was so scared I smoked in my home.
I locked the door, hurried to my bedroom, and screamed for my housemate. I refused to even step out of my bedroom for the entire night, and I pulled down the blinds. This particular encounter was so terrifying, I was shaking for hours and didn't sleep that night. Some definite details I can remember of this creature was that its face was sunken in, its head very large in size. Where its eyes should have been were craters of black, and in the middle, golden, glowing orbs, very, very bright and flame-like. It was on all fours, but this thing can easily 100% walk if it wanted to, like no problem. The creature was very thin, very thin.
Very thin. Like very thin.
I remember that detail very clearly. Its chest was near skeletal, and its stomach caved in as if it hadn't eaten in 100 years. Its arms and legs both very, very, very long. Both arms and legs were insanely muscled and massive. Honestly, its arms and legs were the only part of the creature's anatomy that had any mass about it. The creature itself was big, and I'm talking like 10 feet tall easily. And if I had to guess, it weighed anywhere between 500 to 600 pounds. It seemingly had fur covering some parts of its body, along the tops of its arms, back, and thighs, but the fur was scarce. Initially, I thought werewolf, but after looking up different cryptids, I can safely say I don't think it was that. Another detail I remember was its mouth. This thing was smiling at me. Its teeth were razor sharp, almost needle-like and long. The size of its smile and its teeth took most of its face. Where a nose should have been, there were only nostrils, almost like a skull. Its face actually was very skull-like. The whole body was very skeletal. Anyway, I just would really like to talk to somebody who's had similar experiences, or anybody that could relate.
Next two stories. So the next cannibalistic story we have is that of Jose Luis Calva, born June 20th, 1969, died December 11th, 2007. Calva had a horrific childhood, to say the least. His father passed away when he was just 2. His mother would frequently bring men into their home, forcing him to call them dad. At the young age of 7, Calva was raped by a 16-year-old friend of his older brother. In 1996, Calva met the woman that he would eventually wed, having 2 children together. They divorced, however, and she moved to the United States with their daughters, which forced Calva to spiral into a deep depression. In October of 2007, the Federal Preventative Police dispatched forces to Calvin's home to arrest him under the suspicion that he was responsible for the disappearance of Alejandra Galeana. She was last seen on October the 6th. He was found eating a dish consisting of human meat seasoned with lemon. He attempted to escape by jumping from the window, which resulted in him injuring himself, ultimately leading to his capture.
I don't trust people that season meat with lemons.
Yeah, that's really weird. Unless it's chicken. Lemon chicken's good.
I don't trust you, man. Cannibal.
When searching the inside of his flat, police discovered the mutilated body of his girlfriend, human meat in the fridge, a frying pan with cooked human flesh, and human bones in a box of cereal.
And a pocket full of teeth.
Pocket full of shells. Along with that, they found an unfinished book titled Cannibal Instincts, or 12 Days, and a picture of Anthony Hopkins portraying Hannibal Lecter.
Or a book that's titled How to Serve Humans.
With lemon. In the early morning on December 11th, 2007, Calva was found hanging by his belt from the roof of his holding cell. Although no suicide note was found, it's suspected he committed suicide between 6 and 6:30 a.m. The last story is that of Peter Bryan, a British serial killer born on October 4th, 1969. What's up with a bunch of killers being born in 1969, man? Bryan was born in London as the youngest of 7 children of immigration parents from Barbados. He left school when he was 14 or 15 and obtained employment at a clothing stall, later moving to teach cooking classes at his local soup kitchen. So he's teaching cooking lessons. In 1987, while Bryan was living in Flying Angel Custom House, East London, police were called when Bryan attempted to throw another resident from the 6th floor window. The victim reported that the attack was unprovoked. However, police took no action against Bryan for the attack. In 1994, Bryan was admitted to Rampton Secure Hospital when admitting to the murder of 21-year-old shop assistant Nisha Sheth, who had been beaten to death with a hammer in 1993. By February 2001, nursing staff believed that he had made considerable progress in his behavior, attitude, maturity, relationships, anger, and insight. Like, he's progressing pretty well. We're going to go ahead and just let him waltz on out of here.
Yeah.
He was transferred from Rampton in June 2001 to the John Howard Center. He was released after his 6-month trial into the care of psychiatrists and social workers. He was allowed to come and go as he pleased due to his good behavior. However, in 2004, he was transferred to an open psychiatric ward at Newham General Hospital for his safety after allegations of indecently assaulting a 16-year-old girl. Roughly a month later, Bryan killed his friend Brian Cherry on February 17, 2004, mere hours after being discharged from the mental health unit. It's reported that the victim was dismembered and officers found a frying pan on the stove with tissue from the dead man's brain. They just cut it up and cook it on the frying pan.
Get some prion disease.
He was remanded to Broadmoor Hospital after appearing in court over Cherry's death. On April 25th, Bryan killed a fellow patient named Richard Loudwell, who was 59. Bryan claimed that had he not been interrupted, he would have eaten Loudwell's flesh.
Oof.
He's like, man, you guys just had to bust in and, annoy the shit out of me. On March 15th, 2005, Bryan pleaded guilty at the Old Bailey on two counts of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. Judge Giles Forrester said, "You killed on these last 2 occasions because it gave you a thrill and a feeling of power when you ate flesh." Bryan was sentenced to a whole life tariff. In 2006, Lord Chief Justice Lord Phillips overturned the whole life tariff but said it was unlikely that Bryan, who is mentally ill, would ever be released. The sentences were changed to a minimum of 15 years.
Damn.
There you go. So that's going to wrap us up for tonight. Thank you again, Ian, for the suggestion on the cannibals and Michael Rockefeller. We want to give a huge shout out, as always, to our 9 paid supporters of the show: Claytor, Lord of Soup, Curtis and Lara, Jackson, Modelo Time, Lara, Mothman, Devin, Conklin family, and Lou. Thank you very much for the constant support. We are getting really, really close to having video on the show and for visiting our clown motel when we hit our 500 subscribers on YouTube.
We're only 69 subs away. Bow, chicka, wow, wow.
Chicka, wow.
You're going to really force us to go to the clown motel. Just 69 more.
So keep sharing us out there, because we're going to turn on the video, bring a Ouija board, going to go play in the clown motel. Bunch of drugs, go to the clown motel, hang around in the neighboring cemetery with the Ouija board, the spirit box. It's going to be a goddamn good time, and you get to see our ugly faces for once.
Yep. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe, as it really helps us get us out there. As always, thank you for entering the abyss.
Until next time.